My wife's 5-year affair with our neighbor was exposed by an unintentional DNA test. It showed my daughters weren't mine. I, 55 male, never thought at my age I'd be posting on Reddit, but I need to get this off my chest. My whole world exploded 3 weeks ago, and I haven't been able to sleep more than a couple hours a night since then. I've been married to my wife Carol, 54 female, for 30 years next month. We have 3 kids, Ryan, 31 male, Emma, 28 female, and Sophia, 24 female. I always thought we had a rock-solid marriage. Sure, we had our ups and downs like anyone, but we always worked through problems together. We built a good life, not rich by any means, but comfortable. I worked at the same engineering firm for 26 years, turning down promotions that would have required travel because family always came first for me. Carol worked part-time as a dental hygienist when the kids were growing up, then full-time once they were all in high school. I was raised by my grandparents after my mom died when I was 11. Never knew my dad, he took off before I was born. My grandparents were good people who did their best, but they were already in their 70s when they took me in, so I was mostly on my own by 16. Met Carol when I was 24 at a friend's barbecue. She came from a big family, 3 sisters, parents still together. I was drawn to that stability. We got married after dating for a year, and Ryan came along about a year later. Our life settled into a comfortable pattern. I coached Little League, helped with homework, took the kids camping every summer. Carol handled most of the day-to-day stuff with the kids and kept our social calendar. We had the same group of friends for decades, neighborhood couples, parents from the kids' schools, people from our bowling league. Everything was normal until my birthday last month when the kids pooled their money and got me one of those Ancestry DNA kits. They thought it would be cool for me to maybe find some distant relatives since I didn't know much about my family history. I wasn't that interested but went along with it to make them happy. Ryan decided to do one too, just to see what showed up. When the results came back, Ryan called and asked if the whole family could get together for dinner. Said he had something important to discuss. Carol made lasagna, Ryan's favorite, and we all sat around the dining room table like we'd done hundreds of times before. After dinner, Ryan pulled out some papers. He started explaining how these DNA tests work, how they show percentages of ethnicity but also match you with relatives. Then he dropped the bomb. According to his results, he and I were related as father and son, exactly as expected. But the site had also matched him with Emma and Sophia, not as full siblings but as half siblings. The room went completely silent. I stared at Ryan, then at my daughters, then at Carol. Her face turned white. She jumped up from the table, knocking over her wine glass. Red wine spilled across the tablecloth like blood. She ran upstairs and locked herself in our bedroom. The kids started talking all at once. Emma was crying. Sophia kept saying there must be some mistake. Ryan just sat there with the papers in his hand, looking lost. I couldn't process what was happening. These were my daughters. I was there when they were born. I taught them to ride bikes, helped them with science projects, walked Emma down the aisle at her wedding 3 years ago. I told the kids to give us some space. Carol texted them all from upstairs, asking them to leave and promising we'd talk tomorrow. After they left, I sat at the kitchen table for an hour, staring at nothing. Eventually, I went upstairs. Carol opened the door when I knocked. Her eyes were red and swollen. She admitted everything. She had an affair with Michael, who lived 3 houses down from us back then. This went on for almost 5 years, ending around the time Sophia started kindergarten. Michael and his wife moved away a few years later, and he died from pancreatic cancer about 7 years ago. Carol swore she never knew for sure that the girls weren't mine. She'd suspected but convinced herself they were mine because she wanted them to be. She said she ended things with Michael because she realized what she was risking, that I was a good man and she was being selfish. I asked her to go stay with her sister for a while. I couldn't look at her. Couldn't be in the same house. She packed a bag and left that night. The next morning, Ryan came over. We sat on the back deck where I taught him to tie fishing knots when he was 8. He asked if I was okay. I wasn't. He said no matter what, I would always be his sister's dad. DNA doesn't change that. I nodded, but it felt like someone had reached into my chest and ripped out something vital. Emma and Sophia came over that afternoon. They kept saying they loved me, that I was their dad no matter what. Sophia crawled into my lap like she used to when she was little and put her head on my shoulder. Emma held my hand and told me about how I was the one who showed up to every dance recital, every parent-teacher conference. But there was something different in their eyes. A question that hadn't been there before. They wanted to know about Michael, their biological father. Did he have the same laugh as Emma? The same artistic talent as Sophia? I didn't have those answers. Carol's sister Janet called that evening. She told me Carol was a mess. Apparently, Janet had known about the affair back then and had told Carol to end it many times. Janet said Carol had been carrying this guilt for decades, that she'd tried to be the perfect wife ever since to make up for her mistake. I spent that night going through old photo albums. Looking at pictures of the girls as babies, toddlers, teenagers. searching their faces for signs that they weren't mine. How did I not see it? The slightly different nose shape, the texture of their hair, the color of their eyes. It was all there if I'd looked closely enough. My brother called from Phoenix after Emma told him what happened. He offered to come stay with me for a few days. I told him not to. I didn't want anyone around. The next week was a blur. I went to work, came home, stared at the walls. Didn't eat much. Lost 8 pounds. The kids called every day. I let most calls go to voicemail. Carol texted daily, asking when we could talk. I didn't reply. Then last weekend, Ryan showed up with a 6-pack and a pizza. He wouldn't take no for an answer. We sat in the living room watching baseball, not talking much. Eventually, he asked what I was going to do. I told him I didn't know. That's when he showed me something on his phone. He'd done some digging and found Michael's family, an ex-wife and 2 sons who lived about an hour away. He asked if I thought Emma and Sophia should contact them. The thought of my daughters having another family, brothers I didn't know about, made me physically ill. I went to the bathroom and threw up. Now I'm sitting here, the house empty and quiet. Our anniversary is in 3 weeks. The cruise we booked months ago is paid for. The life we built feels like a sand castle that just got washed away by a wave. I don't know if I can forgive her. I don't know if I want to. The girls are still my daughters in every way that matters. I know that. But every time I look at them now, I see a stranger's face looking back. And every time I think about Carol, I picture her with him. In our bed. In our home. While I was working late to give my family a good life. I don't know what to do next. I don't know how to move forward from here. Update 1. First, I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post. I didn't expect so many people to respond. Reading your stories helped me realize I'm not alone in this nightmare. Carol moved back home yesterday. Not because I forgave her, but because I realized we need to figure this out face to face. She's sleeping in the guest room. We're like awkward roommates in a house full of ghosts. The day after my post, I called Emma and Sophia and asked them to meet me for lunch. We went to the diner we used to go to on Saturday mornings when they were in high school. I told them I needed some time, but that nothing would ever change how much I love them. They are my daughters, period. Emma cried. Sophia kept refilling her water glass and avoiding eye contact. They told me they'd decided to contact Michael's family. His ex-wife Lisa had remarried years ago, but his sons Jake, 32, and Tyler, 30, wanted to meet them. I nodded and said I understood. What else could I say? They have a right to know their biological family. But it felt like another piece of my life was being chipped away. Last weekend, Carol and I had our first real conversation since everything blew up. We sat at opposite ends of the couch. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. She'd lost weight too. She told me more details about the affair. It started at a neighborhood block party when I was away on a rare business trip. She'd had too much to drink. Michael walked her home. One thing led to another. She said she tried to end it several times but kept getting pulled back in. They would meet during the day while I was at work and the kids were at school. Sometimes at his house when his wife was visiting her mother in Florida. Sometimes in his car parked at the lake outside town. Every detail was like a knife. I asked her to stop. I didn't need to know more. She said Michael had wanted her to leave me, but she never considered it. Said what they had wasn't love but escapism. She was young, felt trapped in domestic life, wanted excitement. She didn't expect or plan to get pregnant by him. When she did, twice, she convinced herself the babies were mine. I asked her about our sex life during those years. She said she never refused me to save herself for him, never compared us, never fantasized about him when she was with me. I don't know if I believe her. I don't know if it matters. The hardest part was when she showed me a letter she wrote but never gave me. Dated 15 years ago. A full confession she'd written when Sophia turned 9. She'd gone as far as putting it in an envelope with my name on it. But she couldn't go through with it. She said she realized it would only ease her conscience while destroying our family. So she hid the letter and recommitted herself to being the best wife and mother she could be. Ryan has been my rock through all this. He comes over almost every day after work. We don't always talk about what happened. Sometimes we just watch TV or work on his car in the garage. But his presence helps. He's the one certain thing in my life right now, my son, my blood. Janet, Carol's sister, called me last week. She admitted she'd known about the affair and had confronted Carol multiple times. Said she'd threatened to tell me if Carol didn't end it. She apologized for not telling me back then, said she thought she was protecting our family. I thanked her for calling but told her I wasn't ready to forgive anyone who'd been part of the deception. Yesterday, Emma and Sophia met Jake and Tyler for coffee. They called me afterward. It was strange, they said. Like looking in a mirror in some ways. Jake has Sophia's laugh. Tyler has the same cowlick Emma has always fought with. They were nice guys, raised well. Their mother had told them years ago that their dad had been unfaithful, but they never knew there might be half-siblings out there. This morning, Carol asked if I wanted to try counseling. I haven't answered her yet. Part of me wants to try to save our marriage. 30 years is a long time. We built a life together. But another part of me can't imagine ever trusting her again. Can't imagine ever looking at her without seeing betrayal. Our anniversary is next week. The cruise tickets sit on my dresser. Carol asked if I still wanted to go. I told her I don't know. Some days I wake up and for a split second, everything is normal. Then reality crashes back, and I have to learn to breathe again. Emma's birthday is next month. She's pregnant with her first child. She asked if I would still be grandpa to her baby. The question broke my heart. Of course I will. DNA be damned. I've started taking long drives after work. Sometimes I don't come home until midnight. Carol doesn't ask where I've been. I think she's afraid of the answer. Ryan suggested I talk to his friend who's a lawyer, just to understand my options. I made an appointment for next week. Not because I've decided on divorce, but because I need to know what that path would look like if I take it. The DNA test results sit in my desk drawer. Sometimes I take them out and stare at them, as if the percentages and charts might rearrange themselves into a different truth if I look hard enough. My mother-in-law called yesterday. She didn't know about the affair until now. She cried and apologized for her daughter's actions. Said she raised her better than that. I told her I didn't blame her. Carol made her own choices. I've lost 15 pounds now. My clothes hang on me. I'm not trying to lose weight, food just doesn't taste like anything anymore. That's where things stand for now. I'm taking it one day at a time. Some days are better than others. I'll update again when there's more to share. Update 2. It's been a while since my last update. A lot has happened. Carol and I didn't go on the anniversary cruise. Instead, we spent that day apart. I drove to the beach where we got married and sat on the sand for hours, watching families play in the surf and couples walk hand in hand along the shoreline. 2 days after our anniversary, I went to the Chevrolet dealership and traded in my sensible sedan for a red Camaro convertible. The salesman looked at me like I was having a midlife crisis. Maybe I am. But driving that car with the top down and the engine roaring gave me the first moment of pleasure I'd felt in months. Emma had her baby, a little girl they named Lily. I was in the waiting room when she was born. When they let me in to see them, Emma handed me the baby and said, "Meet your granddaughter." I held that tiny bundle and something cracked open inside me. Lily has my mother's eyes. Not biologically possible, but there they were, looking up at me. Carol moved out again 6 weeks ago. We tried counseling, 3 sessions. The therapist wanted us to focus on rebuilding trust. I sat there listening to strategies and exercises, nodding along, but inside I kept coming back to one thought: I don't want to do the work. Not because I don't love Carol, but because something fundamental changed when I found out about her deception. The man who could have fought for our marriage died the night the DNA results came out. Last month, I walked out of a staff meeting at work. Just stood up in the middle of the quarterly projections presentation and left. Drove my Camaro to the coast and spent 3 days at a beach motel, watching the waves and drinking beer on the balcony. Didn't call anyone. Turned off my phone. It was the first time in my adult life I did something completely unpredictable, completely for myself. When I came back, I submitted my retirement paperwork. I'm done in 2 weeks. 30 years at the same company, climbing the ladder, playing by the rules. For what? A pension, yes. Security, yes. But I realized I've spent my entire life being responsible, reliable, the steady one. And in the end, it didn't protect me from pain. Sophia and Emma have been meeting regularly with Jake and Tyler. They invited me to join them once. I declined. I'm not ready to meet the sons of the man who slept with my wife and fathered my daughters. Maybe someday, but not yet. Ryan got engaged last weekend. His fiancée Sarah is a kindergarten teacher, sweet, smart, devoted to my son. The engagement party is next month. Carol and I will both attend, separately. Our first public appearance as a broken family. I bought a motorcycle, a Harley-Davidson Road King. Carol called when she heard from Janet, worried I was going to kill myself on it. I assured her I took the safety course and wear a helmet. I didn't tell her about the freedom I feel on that bike, leaning into curves on mountain roads, the wind buffeting my body. Last week, I ran into Lisa, Michael's ex-wife, at the grocery store. She recognized me right away. We stood awkwardly in the produce section. She apologized for what Michael had done. Said she didn't know about Emma and Sophia specifically, but had suspected there were other women. That's why they divorced. I nodded, thanked her for raising good sons who've been kind to my daughters. We parted with a strange sense of connection, 2 people whose lives were derailed by the same person. I've been thinking about moving. This house holds 28 years of memories. Carol and I bought it when Emma was on the way. Every corner echoes with our history. The height marks on the kitchen doorframe tracking the kids' growth. The dent in the living room wall from when Ryan threw a baseball indoors after I told him not to. The oak tree in the backyard we planted when we moved in, now tall and strong. My lawyer called yesterday. The divorce papers are ready whenever I am. I haven't signed them yet. Not because I'm considering reconciliation, but because signing them means admitting defeat. Admitting that the life I thought I had was an illusion. Emma asked me to babysit Lily next weekend. Said she and her husband need a night out. I immediately said yes. The thought of spending time with my granddaughter is the brightest spot on my horizon. Carol's mother passed away last month. I attended the funeral, stood at the back of the church. Carol saw me and nodded. We didn't speak. Her sisters formed a protective circle around her. I left before the reception. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if the kids hadn't given me that DNA kit. If we would have gone on, Carol carrying her secret, me in blissful ignorance. Would that have been better? I don't know. Ryan asked me yesterday what my plans are now. I told him I don't have any, not really. For the first time in my life, I'm not planning ahead. I'm just letting each day come as it will. He looked worried. Told me it's not like me to drift. I told him maybe he never really knew me. Maybe I never really knew myself. I'll write again when there's more to tell. For now, I'm learning to live in this new reality, one day at a time. Update 3. It's been a year since my world changed forever. A lot of you have sent messages asking for an update, so here it is. The divorce was finalized 6 months ago. In the end, it was amicable. We split everything down the middle, the house sold for a good price, retirement accounts divided, furniture and mementos distributed. Carol got the photo albums. I kept my Camaro and motorcycle. I bought a small cabin near a lake about 2 hours from the city. It's nothing fancy, 2 bedrooms, a large deck overlooking the water, a dock where I keep a small fishing boat. Most mornings, I take my coffee out to the deck and watch the sun rise over the water. Most evenings, I sit in the same spot with a beer and watch it set. I retired completely. The pension is enough for my simple needs now. I've started doing woodworking in a shed behind the cabin. Made Lily a rocking horse for her first birthday. Emma cried when I gave it to her. Said it looked just like the one in the pictures of her as a toddler. I didn't tell her I used those same pictures as a guide. Ryan and Sarah got married 3 months ago. Small ceremony in her parents' backyard. Carol and I were both there, standing on opposite sides of the gathering. When Ryan and Sarah had their first dance, I watched Carol across the lawn. She was crying. So was I. Sophia moved to Chicago for a job with an advertising agency. She calls every Sunday night. We talk about her work, her new apartment, the dating scene in Chicago. We don't talk about the past. Before she left, she asked if she could bring Jake and Tyler to meet me. I finally agreed. We had lunch at a restaurant, neutral territory. They were respectful, a bit nervous. Jake has Carol's eyes. Tyler has Michael's build. I shook their hands at the end, wished them well. It was difficult but necessary. Emma and her husband bought a house not far from my cabin. They bring Lily to visit most weekends. She's walking now, getting into everything. Last weekend, she fell asleep on my chest while we were watching cartoons. The weight and warmth of her small body was the most real thing I've felt in a long time. I reconnected with an old friend from college a few months ago. Her name is Diane. She's a widow, lives about an hour from my cabin. We've been having dinner together most Fridays. Sometimes she stays over in the guest room. Sometimes she doesn't. We're taking it slow. She knows my story. I know hers. We're both carrying baggage, but it's nice to have someone to talk to who didn't know me before, who has no expectations of who I should be now. Carol started dating someone recently, a dentist from her practice. Janet told me. I found I didn't have any strong feelings about it. I hope he makes her happy. I hope she's learned from her mistakes. The motorcycle club I joined takes weekend trips through the mountains. A bunch of middle-aged guys escaping responsibilities for a few hours, feeling the freedom of the open road. Last month, we rode 300 miles in a day, stopping at roadside diners and scenic overlooks. My back hurt for days afterward, but it was worth it. Jake and Tyler invited Emma and Sophia to their family's Thanksgiving dinner. They went. Sent me pictures afterward. It was strange seeing my daughters surrounded by strangers who share their blood. But they looked happy, and that's what matters. I started teaching a woodworking class at the community center near my cabin. Mostly retirees looking for a hobby. One kid though, about 16, sent by the juvenile court for community service. Reminded me of myself at that age. I'm teaching him to make a chess set. He's got talent. Last week, I ran into Carol at Ryan's house. We were both there to help paint the nursery. Sarah is expecting twins in the spring. We worked on opposite walls, careful not to get in each other's way. As I was leaving, Carol stopped me in the driveway. Asked if I was doing okay. I told her I was. Asked her the same. She nodded, looked away. Said she still thinks about us sometimes, wonders about the what-ifs. I didn't have an answer for her. There are too many what-ifs to count. The anger is mostly gone now. The shock too. What remains is a quiet acceptance that life rarely goes according to plan. That people make mistakes, sometimes terrible ones. That forgiveness isn't about erasing the past but about not letting it control your future. I still love my daughters fiercely, completely. DNA hasn't changed that. If anything, choosing to be their father despite biology has made that bond stronger, more deliberate. Ryan asked me recently if I regret taking that DNA test. I thought about it for a long time. Yes, it destroyed the life I thought I had. But it also freed me from a lie. And in that freedom, I've discovered parts of myself I never knew existed. So that's where I am now. Living simply. Taking each day as it comes. Finding small joys where I can. It's not the life I planned, but it's becoming a life I can live with. This will be my last update. Thank you all for listening, for sharing your own stories, for the support when I needed it most. Whatever challenges you're facing, I hope you find your way through them to something like peace.